You can tell her, you can tell her anything. She's a real good listener. You can tell her anything.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Father Longlegs. You know me, Daddy T. This is You Can Tell Me Anything, where I have comedians confess something they want to get off their chest. I'm very excited to have my guest on today. We share the same manager, and we actually met at his wedding, and we killed it on the dance floor. He is sort of new to LA, but has a show in LA weekly at Wino Vino. I think that's what it's called, every Tuesday, and is the host of the podcast Spiritual Asshole. Give it up for Brendan Fitzgibbons.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Hey, good to be here.
I always give hella long intros, and then sometimes I feel like it's anticlimactic because I'm like, yeah, give it up, and then I'm like, oh, there's an audience. But I imagine people at home are hyped up, so that's why I do that.
Yeah, I totally, on my podcast, whenever I do my outro, I go, keep it going for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no one for it to keep going. It's so good.
But then you feel like you're in a room full of people when you listen to it.
I just say keep it going, man. It's fun.
Yeah, just always keep it going. I think that's a good general vibe. Well, before we get too far, I like to start by asking my guests for a good confession so my listeners can get to know you better. Is there something good you want to confess?
Yeah, I just finished season 1 of my podcast. I did Spiritual Asshole. I did 82 in a row.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I need to take a break now. And I don't know about you, but you hear in the podcast world, they're like, never take a break. Dude, 5,000 in a row. And I was like, dude, I've done 82 weeks in a row of this. I need to chill for a second.
Yeah, damn, that's a lot. Wait, what's the premise of your podcast? I love the name, by the way. Spiritual Asshole. So fun.
Yeah, so it's kind of actually in the name, which is it's a spiritual take, a comedic take on the world of spirituality. So I'm really into spiritual self-help stuff, but I also love comedy. So it's blending the two worlds, I think, in a way that's not been done before. I don't have guests on to shit on them, but I do have a more humorous way of looking at that world, because I feel like that world is very serious, and that everyone thinks that to be spiritual you have to be this you have to talk like this, you have to have no thoughts all the time. None of that stuff is actually true that I believe. So
that sounds like my shit, because I feel this one's kind of started more up from therapy, confessionals, but it really I think anybody who's open to questioning things, you tend to get into that direction. So I've been led down that road a bunch, and I'm I feel the same. I'm I love seeking answers, but I hate the feeling that people who think they know talk to you there's no other answer. And I'm how did you get there? By asking questions. Yeah. So why would you shit on my questions?
And we're and comedians are inherently skeptical of everything. We could meet Jesus and just be nah, dude, I don't know if you're Jesus. We would just be shitting on him. I feel that's what's good about us, though, is we always are skeptical of stuff.
Yeah, you should never be afraid of questions if you know an answer, but if you don't know an answer, that's usually, if you're afraid of a question, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but people who are oh, I only believe in blank, but then you question it and they get mad, it's do you really believe in it? Because if you did, you would just be cool, here's the answer, or find it on your own. Nobody would be that angry.
And also there's I've talked to 82 different kind of spiritual self-help people.
Oh, wow.
And I've been saying that
is it Eckhart Tolle spiritual when you say, or just kind of across a spectrum of religions?
The widest range of people, but I've been telling people that it was my way of getting 82 free hours of therapy. And,
oh my God, I love that. I would come and talk about crystals all day, because I got in an argument with a rocket scientist about this, and I have thoughts, but it made me laugh, because I also believe in science, but I also think it's funny that people who are very scientific won't believe anything until it's in a book. But I'm you do know how science got in that book, right? Somebody asked a question and did some experiments, and then it was in that book. But before that,
it started as a absolutely,
and in nature. So it's wild to just shut someone down. You might be right, I didn't do the science on it, but to just suddenly go, wow, I don't even touch that stuff. It's really?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you believe in science.
It also started as a thought, which is what everything is in this world of spirituality, is the importance of your thoughts. And no, I've actually, after talking to 82 people, I've almost feel I have less answers, but feel better about it in this, you know what I mean? I'm all this could be true. And it actually feels better than being this is the fucking answer. It's this way. I don't feel that way at all.
There wouldn't be an answer. I love this shit so much. I'm not gonna spend this whole time talking about your pod, but I do want to respond to it because it's like I've always during the pandemic I've thought a lot about this stuff, and I kind of came to the conclusion, which is an inconclusive conclusion, but the conclusion that whenever I feel like threatened or feel like I'm not able to connect with someone, I try to search for a common question, not a common answer, because then. Yeah, because then you feel like let's say you're trapped in a room, right? Like, and you don't know how to get out. Like, and that moment, everyone's goal is to get out. Maybe, right? Unless there's one person whose goal is not to get out, then you might be like, suspicious. Why don't you? You know, so like wherever it leads you, that's usually the first place to start, because then you can figure out your goal. But if you start from like, well, who put us in here? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's all pointing fingers, then really nobody gets closer to the goal.
Yeah. And really, honestly, like, I don't think anyone does have the answers. And that's what makes it kind of cool. Is like, if you could just sit back and like, I've been telling people, like, when I listen to people's opinions, I like sift them like a glass of wine in my cup. And, like, oh, that's interesting. Just like,
I'll shit out this part. I'll digest this part. This part will make my tits grow. And this,
I'm never like that upset about somebody's answer, or I'm like, no, because it's just like, that's not growth. That's not how you grow either. So it's been awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I definitely can't wait to check that out. I'm sure the people who like this pod will like that too. But you kind of talked about therapy and or lack of therapy. But I started this pod, like some backstory, because I started going to therapy late. Like I really wasn't raised in a culture that like had it until I went to New York City, which, you know, it's all like, therapy's like a designer bag you wear around with you. You talk about at brunch. But I really enjoyed being able to like share parts of myself and talk and blah, blah, blah. So I like to ask my guests, just because there's so many different backgrounds for like how you deal with mental health. And I know you have your pod, but do you have experience with therapy? Have you gone? Or like what's your kind of like self-care routine? And if it's just comedy, that's okay too. But just to share. No, because I mean, really, we get all of stories. I mean, we have people who are like, I don't ever want to go, and here's my reason. There's no wrong answer. It's just to kind of get a sense of like everyone has their different ways of handling things.
Yeah. What if my answer was just open mics?
Then I would be surprised you were this successful.
No, No, I have tried every therapy known to man, almost.
Okay, elaborate. Have you done EMDR?
Yes.
Oh, me too. Oh my God. Okay.
I've done EMDR. I'm now seeing a hypnotherapist. I've done Reiki. I've done crystal work. I've done acupuncture. I've done like deep energy therapy. I've done regular therapy. There's like nothing I will not. Yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting. Oh, I've done data healing. Like there's something I know I'm forgetting.
Wait, is that like Scientology?
No. Oh shit, that makes sense the way you'd ask that. No, it's like
aren't they called Thetans?
Yeah, Thetans. It's somatic body healing. What if I was a Scientologist?
Then I'd be like, oh crap, I guess we have more in common than I thought. How did I get here again? No, that's okay. This is interesting because I think this is the first time I've had someone who's tried that many forms and is still interested in finding more. Like it didn't sound like they didn't work, but so now I'm curious, is that from your curiosity of wanting to try everything, or are you like seeking an answer that you have yet to find? Or you're just constantly interested in seeing more experiences?
I think it's both of it's a little bit of the last two you said. I just said like there's no answer, but I do feel like I've become obsessed with sort of what's going on subconsciously in your subconscious mind. And I've been exploring with these different kind of therapies to more more to change, to go after the subconscious.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been like really a plan where I was like, oh, I'm going to do all these different kinds of therapy. It's been like, which one can I want to rewire my brain about some shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm fascinated by all the different ways you could do that. So I just keep getting led down these different roads. It's not even by choice at all. It was never a conscious decision. I grew up Catholic, like
wow, okay.
I didn't do any of this shit when I was.
When did you leave, or did you just kind of fade away when you like left home from the church, or did you actively like, oh, I don't practice anymore?
I was always a seeker, so I was a Catholic probably till like 24, which is way too late. I know some people were like, I knew this was bullshit when I was 7. I was like, damn, I wish I was that.
Everything's a little bullshit though. Like I'll say my twin sister is Catholic, but she became Catholic in college, and my dad's a born again, and I'm not religious, but I went to Christian kindergarten and then Catholic school for freshman year. So like I've had enough experience around it where I'm not like, I hate it. But, you know, I do identify as queer, and there's many things I feel that religion doesn't leave safe spaces for. So I didn't really follow through with any institutionalized religion. But I think it's pretty common to, your attitude and philosophy, I feel like does line up with a lot of people I know that practice Catholicism or have.
Yeah, so, and my mom is extremely Christian now. My dad's kind of practicing Catholic. So my background is intensely religious. And then it just hit me one day where I was like, oh, none of this is working for me. After like excessive studying and seeking and going and like trying, my mom kept being like, you're going to the wrong church. I was like, no, that's not.
And there shouldn't be, right? If you believed in one whatever God that is all loving and you can go to a church and find it, which is I think what most Christian churches believe, right? Like you just go to the church and you'll be able to connect to God, whether it's the right or wrong church. Like then there shouldn't be a wrong church, right? Technically. But no, if you believe there could be a wrong, but if there could be a wrong church, then you could get into the nitty gritty argument of like, oh, this church is running this wrong, but not God wrong. But then we don't even open that up. So it's like, I sense some weakness in this argument.
Is this the church or is this the people talking?
Yeah.
And that's what I realized about religion. And to me, it's just like a filter in which people use to often exert control when they have no control. So I've given all of that up. And so it's been like a crazy spiritual journey. Like it's been like so much of my life. And now I feel like the last couple of years I've like found a place which is kind of nowhere, but that's cool.
I love that. I mean, that's really appropriate for the sort of broad, universal 2020 everyone. Like if you kind of combine everyone's like collective COVID experience of having to totally paradigm shift, the idea of being nowhere and making nowhere home is kind of like actually very right on.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we just wrote a web series.
Oh no, I can't take on another project that doesn't pay me. If someone wants to buy it, please hit up our manager.
We should hold up pictures of James and be like, call this man.
Yeah, call this man. He just had his birthday. Man. Happy birthday, James. Well, okay, let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, we'll get your confession. All right, we're back. Brendan, the time has come. Is there anything you'd like to tell me?
Yes, and I'm so glad that you've afforded me this platform to do so. I would like to confess that in 2012, I was on a reality dating show on Bravo.
What? Wait, was it? Okay, actually I don't. The only one I know that I knew comedians on, but I don't know if it's 2012. There was like The Beauty and the Geek, but I don't know if that was Bravo. Was that yours?
No. It was called The Love Broker.
The Love Broker. Oh my God. Wait. Okay. Tell us more. This sounds like very Bravo because there's like sort of a bling slant when you add a broker in there. It's like love can't be bought, but on Bravo it can.
Yeah. Exactly. No. Exactly. I mean, this story is like so multi-layered and insane. So it was 2011, and I was in Bryant Park with my buddy, and I just broke up with my long-term girlfriend. And this woman comes up to us and she's like, hey, do you want to be on a Bravo reality show? My buddy was like, hell no. And I was like, okay, sure. And I was new in my comedy career, right? So like when you first start off, and I would love to know if this was your experience, like you think your next break could make you famous. Like I was like, this is going to make me famous. I was like, that's it. This is it for me. Like,
yeah, there were so many things like, you know, friends would be like, I'm casting for MTV. And I'd be like, this is it. I'm going to just tell all my like most raunchy stories on this casting. But then it's like, thank God I didn't get cast for any of those, you know? It's all like stories of how I was a complete asshole being drunk on a date or whatever. But like, this is funny. And then later, like, oh, I would have seemed like a nightmare.
Yeah, but when you're starting out, so I was pretty new to comedy. I literally was like, oh, this is going to make me famous. And plus, you know, I was like, why not? This could be a fun story. So I went into the Bravo studios. They asked me a bunch of questions, and they're like, cool. All right, you're in. So the concept was...
Whoa. Wait, I have to say this before you get too far, just in case that it connects, which is totally fine. But I was a receptionist at the production company that produced Watch What Happens Live on Bravo. So I wasn't working at Bravo, but I worked really closely with Andy Cohen and a bunch of Bravolebrities. So it is kind of funny that I'm like, actually our worlds, in 2011 too, so our worlds may have been more orbiting around each other than we knew.
So I'll get to Andy Cohen too, because I have shit with him. Not shit. I had stuff to say about him later.
What was the audition? What did they ask you? Like, did you know the slant?
Are you single? What's it like dating in New York? I wore like my nicest shirt and all this shit. And I was young, you know, I was probably 27 and 26. And so
so young for a man, but you know, not a woman.
And so I was just excited I'm like, well, there'll be some good stories. So the concept was there was this woman named Lori Zaslow, and she was like ran a dating agency, and like that idea right now sounds insane, but at the time I think it was real.
I think this sounds familiar. Vaguely.
Yes. Blonde. She looks like if you picture
she has like short hair and kind of like.
It's like it was like down here, and she looked like a Manhattanite Upper East Side to a T. Like, hi, I'm Lori Zaslow, like that kind of vibe. So you were supposed to go see her, talk to her, and then she would find somebody for you. All right. So,
interesting.
What people don't know, and that I didn't know about reality shows until this whole experience, and I've written on a reality show, which I want to talk about too, is it's incredibly scripted in the sense of like maybe the things you're saying is not, but like they know from the jump what they want your story to be. So like, they're like, okay, so here's your story. Like, and so then they'll craft an entire thing around what they want that story to be. So my story was I was too funny and immature for love.
Okay.
So everything that we did was kind of based around that. So
so you had to like lean into it. But that kind of, does that serve you wanting to present as a comedian? Because then you can like be there with the priority of being funny over finding love.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Did it serve me? Like, because I was like, well, I'll show them, I'm so funny. But meanwhile, they're like, I'll show him, he's going to look stupid. So it was like two simultaneous things. So
gotcha.
What was crazy was also that when you do a reality show, they kept trying to get me fucked up and drunk every single shot that we did.
I keep hearing that. It's like all just shit-faced.
And dude, we're talking like 11 o'clock in the morning. This is not like we were doing night shoots all the time. Literally, they'd be like, hey, Brendan, what's up? You want to
have some shots?
You like vodka? Do you want to drink vodka? They're just like dump because they want you to be loose and they want you to say some crazy shit. So the whole point of a reality show is moments. So they want you to they always were like, make a choice. Either you hate this girl or you kiss her right now. It was like,
oh my God. Did they prep you at all? Like, was there any training for like, hey, you know, media training and like you might say something and get like a ton of DMs or whatever, or you might totally like, here's how to present. No, that's so ruthless.
That's such a great point because actually I feel like Bravo wants you to do those things.
And then you're stuck. It's an abusive relationship because then like they'll help you get more famous the way they want it, but you now can't work anywhere else.
That is it's fucking insane. Like once you sign over your name to this show, they can manipulate and do with the footage whatever the fuck they want. And that is terrifying. Like I know somebody who was a story producer. So when you're crafting a reality show, you're a story producer. Who, I will not say who, said that she worked on a show that she was able to manipulate the footage so much that she made one of the characters seem like she got an abortion, and she didn't.
And she didn't? Oh my God, that's awful.
I know, I mean, think about that.
That's like so far, I thought it was just gonna be to seem like a bitch, and I'm like, I mean, that's fine, we get it, but that's totally different, and
that's so out and crazy, right? So I didn't know all this though at the time, right? I was I was naive and I was like, whatever. So this is
2011, like pre-Tinder, right? I'm trying to remember when did that all like around then?
It was just kicking off. Otherwise, like the concept of the show never would have worked.
Yeah, this culture was. I remember it was before You Up was coined, but it was a thing. Like I remember being like people texting you up and being like, "What's up with this?" But then it wasn't like, "Oh, Netflix and chill means." Netflix and chill yet.
No, Netflix and chill would be like, go get your Netflix from your mailbox.
Yeah.
Take out the DVD out of the paper. All right, so one of the first things they did was I had to go meet Lori. Like we did like an intake, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna come to your comedy show. So I was running a show at Lucky Jack's on the Lower East Side.
Okay.
It was a great show. It was called Gandhi Is That You. It was a weekly. And they're like, we want to film on a Saturday. Our show was a Monday. So I'm like, okay, cool. We'll throw a special show just for Bravo. All right.
Wow. Okay.
So. And part of the way that we got people to this show was I posted ads on Craigslist. So when you do that in New York,
oh boy.
Okay. So we go have the show on a Saturday night. All of my friends come, and then a bunch of kind of homeless people show up to the shoot. Kind of. There were some like sketchy.
Just people who have nothing to do but look on Craigslist for something to do.
Exactly. So Bravo comes in, and they see the audience. So the audience is peppered with like good-looking, like hip New Yorkers, and then some shady characters. So then they come in and they're like, we need to move. We need to switch some people around for height reasons. So they push everybody who wasn't attractive.
Oh my God.
Everybody in the back, so you don't see them.
Oh my God.
Here's what's great. My friend Kyle Fincham was hosting. He's since quit comedy. He gets on the microphone. Bravo's shooting the show. There's like a huge crew. There's tons of people everywhere. And he goes, "What's up, guys? Thanks for coming out. Hey, how racist is Bravo?"
Oh my God. Oh no.
It was fucking
I was hoping
awesome.
It wouldn't go that way, but that's awful. Oh, no.
No, but it was, they needed to be called out. And then I remember looking at Bravo and they were like, And so,
oh no.
All right, so like they had a quick opener, then I perform. I do like 25 minutes. I'm kind of drunk because they're getting me hammered. And I do one sex joke. One.
Okay.
Like, I'm a pretty clean comic at this time. And it was like a stupid masturbation joke that I had. I do one joke. When they air the show, the only joke that I did was a stupid masturbation joke because it was the most immature joke I had.
Damn, that probably means you passed the test because they're probably hoping to get like a ton of material and they're like, that just maybe that one. But then that's all people see. But in your mind, you can rest easy knowing that they couldn't find more.
So, but the problem is my mom saw it and she was so
no. Did you get to see it before or you watched it with people?
No, I watched it by myself.
Oh, by yourself, okay.
And so my mom wouldn't talk to me for like a whole weekend. I came home and she drove me to the airport and she's like, "You basically disgraced the whole family."
Oh my God. I mean, that's a little exaggerated. I don't know how many, people really are watching Love Broker on Bravo that your whole family would know. No, well, maybe she sent out an email and then that's why she was embarrassed.
No, my mom is just an extreme Christian where she's like, all things are bad. Like anything dirty is the worst thing ever. So, all right, so this is where the story gets crazy.
Yeah, so what happened?
It's already crazy. But okay, so now I have to go to like this class where I learn about like how to make a girl a cocktail. Like we go to like a cocktail class. I'm hammered again.
Is that like part of the show? Okay.
Yeah. Like,
why do you have to make girls love when you work as a bartender, but also also are a comedian, also too immature?
Yeah, well,
they love it.
Yeah, they were like, once you know this drink, the girl will be so impressed with you. On your date, she'll be like, he knows the cocktail. So,
what was the drink?
It was called Hers. I only remember this because I literally just was flipping through the show and rewatch. It's on Amazon Prime.
Oh my God. Okay, I have to watch it. But also, if a guy on a date was like, "I'm gonna make you a drink, it's called Hers," I'd be like, "You definitely have bodies in your closet." Like, what? Like, never heard of that drink. Did you make it up? Is it roofied? Like, what?
I know. No, I'm looking back at it now. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it called Hers? Anyways.
It's like when you go to. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna let you finish the story. This is my style, by the way. So hopefully it's not too annoying.
It's all good. No, chip away. It's your podcast.
But I went to a party at a guy like house with a bunch of people, but he lived by himself, like a rich dude who had a mansion, but in the Beverly Hills. But he had like a whole closet full of like drinks for parties, but like girly drinks, like LaCroix, whatever, all this stuff that you just know this is the guy who invites random girls home, but he's rich, so they're like, okay, we'll save because we're in a big group and you have a pool. But I'm like, it's too creepy when your whole closet is full of girly drinks and you're like, what would you like? Here's an extra jacket. It's like, no, that's bad. Run. Like,
yeah, he just has girls' pajamas. He's like, are you a medium?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So I got to back up for a second. So one of the things we did was we went to Madison Square Park in New York, and I sat there with Lori, and she had me in the park check out women and comment like on their bodies. And
oh my God.
I didn't like it, but I was redirecting it. So she would like, and I would give myself props for doing this because I was like this, because at the time it wasn't that big of a deal, but she'd be like, "So are you a tits or ass man?" Like, this is on camera. She's like, "What do you like? How about that girl? That girl's nice tits, right? Huh?" And I was like, she wanted me to say like disgusting things, But I just kept commenting on like what the girls were doing. So this one, I was like, this girl, I go, well, she's like, what about her? I go, well, she has a suitcase, so she probably has commitment issues. I was just like,
that's funny.
I just kept like redirecting it because she kept wanting me to be like, yeah, you like tits, right? Yeah, you're creepy. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. And so that went on for like, we were there for like an hour of me just like commenting it. And then a couple times they had like actual plants of people that I could talk to and comment on. So she's like, okay, cool. Now that I have your type, you'll meet the girl. So that's the whole thing, was like, she would provide, based off of what I said, was like, I'll find a girl for you.
And someone who's cast, obviously, to have the reaction they want. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So we go to my first date on this show, on The Love Broker, was at Bullmore Lanes. And so I'm kind of drunk. I'm a little nervous. And I'm like, they're getting me really drunk. Okay, so at this point, I have to say, like, you start kind of not knowing what's real anymore because, like, you're kind of drunk. People are telling you things to say stuff. Like, you're doing these, like, camera interviews afterwards. It's like, it's just a little confusing. I'm becoming friends with the crew, but I'm like, are these people my friends? I'm drunk.
They're all like fake. It's like the opposite of going to a strip club when they're nice to you for money, but they're like, yeah, you're doing great. Keep shitting on these women. Yeah. And you're like, okay, really? Yeah, okay.
So funny. Keep drinking.
Yeah. Wait, I'm curious about these interviews because I just started watching F-Boy Island, and I'm like, actually never watched reality shows, but now that reality shows are making fun of reality shows, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that idea.
I'm curious about when because they always get these confessionals and it seems like it's happening, but they're in very pivotal moments. Do they literally stop, like, I have a confession, stop, come over here? Like, how are they doing that?
No, that's a good question. So it's called like an OTF, which is on the fly. So meaning like this either happens before the activity or afterwards. Chances are you're seeing it afterwards because if they're recapping a moment. So you'll like do the thing, you'll do like the event, and then you'll like go off with the producer and they'll be like, so what'd you think of Lisa? She's crazy, right? So it's like shit like that. So and then you're talking to a producer who's asking you questions and having you say like complete sentence reality answers.
Gotcha. Do you get any idea of a schedule beforehand, or they're just like, meet here and then they pull you around?
That's it. It's like meet there.
Wow.
With this being said, like I did a good job of like, I definitely had boundaries. I wasn't like doing everything they told me to do, but it's hard when you're drunk.
Which is true for everything, I think.
Yeah, it's fair.
Except for crying, that's pretty easy.
Yeah. So I get to Bullmore Lanes, and this is now like a week into shooting, and right before I'm about to meet my first date, it's this girl named Caroline, whose last name I still don't know. They go to me, they go, hey, just so you know, Caroline's dad's dying of cancer. What? She's flying home tonight.
What the F?
To St. Louis. So, you know, just enjoy this as much as you can. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what? And they're like, yeah. And then that's it. And I don't get to see Caroline. I don't get to talk to her before. I'm like,
oh my God.
So I'm just sitting there because they want to capture your reaction to seeing her at first.
Yeah.
So I meet this girl. And they're like, here's Caroline. And the whole time I'm like, her dad's dying. Why are we doing this? Yes. And I honestly.
And you're not allowed to talk to her about it because you're on camera. You can't be like, I extend my apologies.
When we cut, I would try to talk to her about it, but they like did like a good job of being like, not having us interact because they wanted all of it on camera. So wow. I'm like drunk at this point. I like order her a hers from that stupid cocktail that I learned. And they're like, wow, really mature of you to remember the cocktail. And at this point, I'm honestly wondering if this is even fucking true. Because I'm like, I don't know. I think it is, but I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm like by myself. There's like, and these are big crews. There's like 30 people around you shooting. And Caroline's over there. And so we're like having drinks. It's going okay. And I'm like looking at her being like, is she okay? Is she okay? And so they're like, all right, how about you guys go bowling now? So we go over to the actual bowling lanes and Bullmore Lanes. And there was a gong. And they kept having me hit the gong.
Oh my God.
They'd be like, Brendan, go hit the gong again. And of course, in the final cut, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. In the final cut, it's like, Brendan's first date. Let's see how it went. And it's just me hitting the gong.
Oh my God.
Like, Brendan, you were too funny. You kept hitting the gong. I'm like, you guys told me to hit the gong.
Wow. Wait, so was there real like time to actually talk, or was it like 15-minute like talk, okay, done, or like did you guys actually get to sit there and like try to get to know each other, or was it very like structured the whole time?
No, good question. So if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember if we had inner ear monitors. I don't think we did.
Oh, okay.
Because by the way, there's like a story producer the whole time being like, Brendan, ask her this or do that, you know? And again, like I had boundaries. Like it wasn't, I feel like it never was too bad, but in my mind the whole time I'm thinking about her dad.
Yeah.
That we're not going to bring that up on Bravo. It's not going to be like, so anyways, your dad's dying. And so
because you're like, this could also be a trap, like maybe they're gonna switch it up on me or something different, like my dad's been dead for 40 years, why would you mention that? Like,
yeah, I bring it up and then it's like, and then I'm like, what are you talking about? Brendan just made up that your dad's dead.
It's like he was trying to make a funny joke about your dad dying. It's like, wow, immature.
Brendan hit a gong after he found out your dad was dead.
Oh, no.
So we're talking and like it's going okay, but also in these shows they always want you to make a pivotal decision, like, do you like this girl? If you like her, tell her. And if you like her, tell her, kiss her. Kiss her now. It's like shit like that. So I was like, I'm not pushing this vibe. Her dad's dying. I'm like, okay, like so we kind of all made a decision, like it just didn't go well, but really it was fine. Like we actually, to be honest, I'll tell you, I ended up going on a second date, and I was actually really attracted to the first girl, this girl Caroline, but I couldn't talk to her really because her dad was.
Oh my god! And they didn't let you guys like exchange contact or anything, right? Okay.
So that was the other fucked up thing. So after this date's over, I contact Bravo and I was like, hey, can I have her email address just to be like, I'm sorry, this is insane. Like I'm drunk, I'm like trying to be funny, but I'm also like want this to go well. I'm also thinking the whole time that your dad's dying. Like this is very fucking weird. We're also at Bullmore Lanes. I'm hitting a gong. It's not how I normally am.
I'm smashed.
I'm smashed. So no, and Bravo said no. They didn't give me her information, and I still don't even know her last name.
Wow.
And I wonder how she is. She's probably married and has like 16 awesome kids. But
maybe her dad's still alive.
And maybe that was just a play for her to get out of the Bullmore Lanes date.
That's so random that I'm trying to figure out if that's like a weird tactic, because they didn't tell you so many things for them to like throw that at you at the last second. It must be a tactic it could be true, but it must be like throw him off his gang before he goes in or something like.
Yeah, and if that's the case, how dark is that shit if that's true?
That's awful.
So, by the way, I'm sure I'm violating all of my NDAs with this, which is great. And
no, because nowadays the shows are all like all these shows, Bachelor Nation, FBoy Island, they all have company podcasts, and I think that's what keeps the shows going. Because for so long people are like, this is fake, but now you see the people off camera, they are really them, but they're also talking about the stuff you don't see, and I found that's actually probably become better marketing. I mean, it's almost like these monsters we've created, like the executives who were the monsters turned the human people into monsters, and then the human monsters are trying to take back, because there's kind of a bit more empowerment, I feel like, when people on the pods are talking about their lowest moments. They're like, yeah, I mean, I had this emotional breakdown on TV and I'm a person, and people are like, oh damn. They're like, and I learned from it, and you know, some people don't learn from it, so
no, it's
whatever.
I think it's great. I think people need to know like what it's really like, because I think people watch these shows with like such a funny, like lighthearted detachment, like, oh, it's just below deck. Like meanwhile, like fucking insanity is actually happening, and like the way they craft these stories is like, it's so insane. Anyway, so I never got to talk to Caroline again, but then they're like, okay, Brendan, we like you, we think you're funny, so we're gonna give you a second episode.
Okay.
So Lori pulls me aside, and this is on camera, and she's like, okay, Brendan, this time you have to promise me you won't try and be so funny.
What?
Yeah, because she's like, that. The whole narrative is that.
Yeah, you were trying to be.
But what we saw was Brendan was too funny, making too many masturbation jokes. That's why Caroline didn't want to see me again, not because her dad was dying of cancer. So
wow.
It's like, if you watch the episode, you're like, oh. Anyways, so I get a second date, and this time she's like, you're gonna love this girl. You're gonna love her. Her name's Justine. she's got huge tits. You're gonna love her. I was like, okay, well.
What? Oh my God.
She was obsessed with it. That's like what Lori would always talk to me about. I look like a baby. You could see me just like turn red.
She was trying to get a pull quote from you, like, I guess I like tits. Yeah, like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just like tits, and then just have you go tits, over and over.
Brendan just likes gongs and tits. So I was like, okay, cool. So we meet on right by Central Park, and we go out to a bar, and we hit it off, and it was great. And like we had fun, and then we go to Central Park. And the lights, and it's now, the sun's going down. I'm like kind of dressed up, and it's going well. And they're like, Brendan, you need to decide right now. Are you going to kiss the girl or not kiss her? And I was like, okay. And I think I actually asked her off camera, like when we weren't filming, I would be like, can I kiss you? So like I ended up kissing this girl on camera, but it was so fucking awkward, dude. Imagine meeting someone and an hour and a half into it.
With cameras all around
With cameras, and then being like,
damn, now you know how the Little Mermaid feels.
Well, at least she got a song at least. And so we ended up kissing, and we ended up actually going out for like a couple weeks afterwards, and then she ghosted me hard. It was a really hard ghost.
Wow. I mean, I feel like you can't fully be yourself on a fake date on a TV show, but the circumstances aren't.
Yeah, and she was like she's really cute. She's very Long Island, and that sort of was never gonna be my vibe. I'm not I'm from the Midwest, but she was great. And so anyway, so the show airs like maybe 4 or 5 months later, and remember in Facebook how, I don't know if you experienced this, when there was like this separate inbox that nobody knew about?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So after my episode aired, and Lori called me immature and said basically I was too funny and a baby, I found my separate inbox messages like a year later, and I had all of these messages from girls.
Oh my God.
Yeah, being like, you know what? Just so you know, Brendan, I would much rather have a nice guy who can make me laugh than a mean asshole. And I'll go bowling with you anytime. It was really cool.
Aw, that's sweet.
So I found like 10 or 15 of those messages in my
Wow.
Facebook. But then I was like a year later, and I was like, no, let's go out.
No, I've changed. I won't hit the gong.
I'll go with you. Yeah, so.
Well, what about you were getting out of a breakup? Was any of this motivated by post-breakup, or did it just help you completely forget it? Or were you like, my ex will see this, and
that was a lot of it. I remember, so I got out of this relationship with this girl that I was like, thought I was gonna marry. I was so young. And then I met a new girl at this job I was working at who I like loved. Mm-hmm. But we were like super tumultuous. It was very up and down, wild, crazy, like
classic New York City.
Yeah, we're young, we're like babies, and I was like so into this girl, and we just couldn't make it click. And so I was like, I'll go on this show, and I'm gonna be like, you don't want to be with me? I'm gonna slay this Bravo show. I'm gonna hit this gong, and everything's gonna be fine. All I gotta do is hit this gong. And
oh my God.
So yeah, it was part of my motivation for sure, was like to move on from these girls that I really connected with. And so it came out like 6 months later. Obviously like nothing that impactful for my career or anything like that. My mom was upset, but I mean, it was like a cool experience. And then cut to 7 years later, which is 2 years ago, I start writing for a Bravo show.
Oh wow, okay.
A dating show called Blind Date. It's a dating.
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched the first version of that growing up on like it used to be on like public or broadcast, whatever. It was like not even cable. I remember watching it
like all the time.
I used to love that show. I mean, I was like a kid, like waiting for Sailor Moon to come on, watching Blind Date.
Oh, dude, Sailor Moon was on?
On channel, was it like channel 20 at 3:30? I mean, in the Bay. I don't know where you grew up, but
Midwest. And so I started writing for this Bravo show, and it was like crazy because now I'm like the Bravo guy.
Yeah, wow.
Shows. But what was cool was that it's a really great opportunity to write actually really funny jokes. So it's like, so basically the premise of the show, as you know, is there's 2 dates, they're 12 minutes long, and then you are writing jokes over the date. So you're like, a big thing we did was write thought bubbles. So let's say somebody was on a date and someone says something weird. You pop a thought bubble and say write what they're thinking.
Oh, okay. Like commentary. That's more, I feel like, a little more ethical because you get to let people be themselves and then just trust that people are funny, which they are, and then let them be themselves and comment on it.
Yeah, no, and like all the comedy writers were great. So there was 5 of us and we were all like we all loved the daters. Like I feel like we never set out to be like, let's make this guy look like a piece of shit. Like maybe Bravo would craft it, but here's what's crazy, and you will appreciate this being in this business. This is how this business works. This is
Oh gosh.
so, the guy who was in charge of giving all of the comedy notes on this show, all of them, like literally, we would write these jokes and these dates, and we would write like these long scripts that would take forever, and he would just write scrolls of notes back to us. This Bravo guy being like, not funny, not funny, not funny, not funny. Everybody got not funny, okay?
Damn.
So this guy, who was in charge of giving notes for the whole fucking show,
Yeah.
right? He took a comedy class from one of the writers on the show.
No! Oh my god! Oh, I do hate this business. / give me money and I'll tell you I love it, okay?
But that is the genius of this business to me. It's like, this guy had all of the power. He was trashing trashing scripts of the guy whose comedy class he took.
That's wild. That is so wild. That's got to be at some level just like wishing that he could be funny. And he's like mad and he wants you to know that he has the power. It doesn't really matter if you're funny and people laugh because I won't air these jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, cool.
Like,
then your show won't do well, so.
Yeah, no. And it's crazy because so many of his notes were like comments on the dater's appearance. So it was like, yeah, there's apparently this whole amazing Twitter. It's like Bravo show notes Twitter where people like leak their notes.
Oh my god.
Because they're super.
Oh
man,
my
it's not like, dude. It's like the whole Me Too thing never happened to them. It's like, yeah, they were like writing notes, commenting on daters' asses and shit, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, this has nothing to do with what we're writing. And so all of the writers would just kind of laugh at his notes, but then ultimately he had the final say.
Yeah.
So the show was taking forever to get made, and then two guys from the Soup came in and like rescued it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a different. I totally support the like the sentiment of bringing back Blind Date because it was such an iconic show from the past. But like, yeah, in the wrong hands, it's like whenever MTV tries to reboot TRL or whatever, like it's like, yeah, we get that it was cool, but like, it's different time now. So either just like make a new cool thing, or if you're gonna bring it back, like make it cool. But like you can't. I mean, it seems like they like try to do all the formulaic things by hiring funny people, but I imagine the executives in the first time around were much more like renegade, like do whatever, because it was such a weird show. Like they were pushing boundaries, and now they're probably like, we must stay in the old way, which is different.
Yeah, and so this is one of their note code names, right? So every episode would have 2 couples in it, okay? Mm-hmm. So instead of saying we need a couple to be hot, they said every episode has to have 1 couple that's aspirationally attractive.
Aspirationally attractive? Oh my god. That's wild.
That was their way of saying hot, but they couldn't say hot. They have to say aspirationally attractive. That's wild. Worse than just saying hot. Like, just say hot.
Just say the truth, everyone. Like, I'll watch reality shows and I'll be like, I'm just gonna watch Too Hot to Handle because that literally Netflix at least is honest. Too Hot to Handle is a show about people who are too hot and can't stop fucking, and that's the whole premise. And it's actually very good. Like, because it starts that way, where I feel like Bachelor is ABC, so they're like, at least try to be like Family Values, we're selling love, but everyone just wants to watch them fuck on the island or whatever. Which is true, but then there are like certain things they can't do or show, right? But then on Too Hot to Handle, it's like, you think it's gonna just be like an unruly party, but then they make them go through like therapy and like do like group games where they're like, and they'll separate the different groups, like the guys and the girls, and they've cast like bi people, and they'll have them like talk about why they have insecurities. Because you imagine putting a bunch of hot people who are used to being alphas, girls and guys together. You know, like the girls are also like, I don't compete, I don't do this. Yeah. You're gonna have them break down their walls, and it's actually really cool because then they start talking about like, well, I have my walls up because I've been hurt, blah blah. But then it's like, so have I. Okay, well, I guess you are hot and like me. And so perhaps I am hurting you. Like, it's like really cool.
Perhaps we are human.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think, yeah, I agree with you. Just be honest.
Yeah, and I think that, and like, no, I think that there's opportunity for like really good comedy, and some of the people involved with the show were really funny, but it's one of those situations where, and I'm sure you've experienced this, where it's like who's making the final call on the comedy.
Yeah.
So it's like in the wrong hands. Like giving notes about jokes, especially from people who aren't in comedy, it's the craziest thing to me. You know, it's like literally like it's literally like a basketball coach being like, I only critique swimming, and you're like, that's not what you do.
That's wild. Or at least run it by like a laugher audience or something, because that's like for those kinds of things if you really want to know. But you can't do an open mic for reality shows. But they do that for SNL. You know, they have like the rehearsal. Obviously that has gone through cuts, but they do cut things on the fly that don't work. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna have one man in a suit who had to hire a room full of people to write pages and pages tell you what's funny. Like, okay.
Yeah, totally. Like they have no experience with it, and everybody also thinks they're funny, so that's part of it. But all in all, I feel like I've dominated the Bravo Corporation, and I've
The twist would be like, and I'm now the new EP of Bravo.
I now run Bravo.
You are Andy Cohen.
Yeah, so Andy Cohen's boyfriend was also giving notes on the show too. That was
okay.
To say. He was also chiming in with notes on Blind Date, which was so funny. So it's just like a hilarious world that was so foreign to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. So are you like, would you work in, I mean, you've worked on reality recently. Is that something that you would work in again if you were like in a more powerful position to like direct it? Or are you like, I'm done with that whole thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I would do it again if I like the people involved. And like, I think the key is, because my cousin wrote for Wipeout, which is a similar reality show, and he had similar things where he was like, oh man, he's like, huge win. We got that joke about like 2 balls in. We got past the network.
So happy.
Yeah, you have to set like a really low bar. And it's not gonna, like, dude, we're not making Dave or Ted Lasso here. And like, if you're just like, hey, this is a job, and it's honestly, it was the actual job itself was really fun. Oh, by the way, we were commuting to Stamford, Connecticut every day, which was fucking insane.
Oh, damn.
So that was, and what's so funny about that is thinking it was pre-pandemic. And the
yeah, it's like you have to be in a room. Like, oh wow.
We commuted 2 hours a day.
Oh my god.
Each way to go to Stamford. And now it's like that idea seems psychotic.
That's why. Wait, was Nikki Glaser working on that show too? Okay, so cool. I feel like I vaguely remember hearing that.
She was doing the voice, so she was doing all the voiceover. So we were writing Nikki's lines. Like,
oh, gotcha.
Everything she said and it's all like in that Bravo cadence with like a lot of like sexy puns.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, because she's hosting F-Boy Island. Have you seen F-Boy Island, by the way?
No.
I mean, it's so stupid, but if you enjoy making fun of reality, you might enjoy it. Because it is, I mean, Nikki hosts it, and they definitely are more satirizing it. Everyone's self-aware they're on a reality show, but they still do it. So it's fun. Because everyone's like, well, you know, we're here in a world of influencers, so doing this, if I'm myself, will get me more people who like me. Yeah. But also, who doesn't want love? They're like, are you here for love? Yeah. And they're like, are you really? I mean, yeah, like, yeah. I think. I mean, like, who isn't? But probably not, because I'm hot and I would be in love if I wanted love. Like, that's like the real thing behind all these shows, unless they just got broken up with. It's like, none of these people prioritize love. They're here on your show. Like, what do you think?
Do you watch the one where they have to make a decision if they're getting married or not right away?
Oh my god, no. Is that 24-hour fiance or something?
No, it's something like Love at First Sight or some shit where your first date is your wedding.
Yes. They're like but they date in like these like boxes where they can't see each other.
Exactly.
And then after like I don't know if it's 24 hours, but it's definitely very short. And then after that, they get to meet each other for the first time and decide if it's a yes or no. It is wild. That one is pretty wild.
My answer is no.
But yeah,
it's crazy.
There's a couple on there that's really like, I'm like, well, you guys were just meant to be and would have found each other without the show. Like, they're still together and they do really work well together, but sometimes you're like, I think he would have just worked out fine anyways. Like, I think that, man, I almost did a reality show about dating called I don't think it ever aired, so I think I could say this. And I was like down to 6 of us tested for 4 spots, but it was for E! Called Tour Dates for dating female comedians who would tour and date. And I'm like, thank God I didn't get that.
That's so fun. When was this?
A couple of years ago, but it was the kind of thing where I'm like, I know they tried, like, I think they were trying to cast, like, you know, I think I was in for like the bisexual wild girl type, but I wasn't wild enough, and they were like, oh, you're like very interesting, but you're just so chill, so maybe you can like lean into that, but be like aggressively chill, like tell people off when they're not. But I'm like, what? Like, that's not what being chill is. But
like,
I don't know.
You need to cut yourself on camera. That'd be cool, and just like show people.
Yeah, just be like, rah! I feel like I've also gotten on, like, from people who don't know me, listen to podcasts and stuff, like when I've guested, like I've gotten comments that I'm quiet and meek, which I find very funny because people who know me are like, why don't you ever shut up? But I think that some of it could be a bias. I don't think people are used to seeing Asian women talk, and maybe they're only used to seeing very wild Asian women or like super quiet. So when I'm just talking, people are like, why are you so quietly talking
so
about
normal.
yeah, about things that I don't want to hear.
I saw you on the dance floor, and you are the opposite of meek. I would never call you meek.
That's why I think it's so funny when I hear, and I'm like, I get it, whatever, but it's like I don't lean into being loud, but I'm like, I think I'm like an average amount of loud and quiet.
Yeah, no, I think exactly. But I saw you on the dance floor. You fucking dominated.
Oh, well, yes, we had a lot of fun there. Well,
awesome.
This was such a fun story. I usually end with I was going to do this, like, question I always ask people, but I'm kind of curious. Okay, I have a new one I just came up with because we're talking about reality shows, and I love, lately been really into reality shows. So it's just open-ended question. If you could create your own reality show, like an island, put everybody on an island, like blank island, what would it be? Like, what would be the premise?
All right, this is going to be some fantasy shit, but I have had this. This is a thought I've asked people a lot. This is a hypothetical question I've asked people a lot, which is, if you could do a year in one of these 2 places, what would you pick? A year in Jurassic Park, in the actual Jurassic Park, when all shit and hell breaks loose, or a year at the height of the Vietnam War? Which one?
Oh my God. Wow. I mean, I'm going to have to go with Jurassic Park, but my question for that would be, do I know, have I seen the movie Jurassic Park before going in?
Oh man, that's a really good question.
Or am I going in just hoping that I would act and do the right thing? Or do I have knowledge of how it happened?
All right, so my answer is basically you are Sam Neill from Jurassic Park, so you know that the park has been overtaken. So that's the reality show I want to see. I want to see like 10 people in Jurassic Park survive dinosaurs and just see what they do. That's my definition.
That actually, I would be like, I was gonna say like that would be a funny show, but I actually could see that happening like this year. Like somebody would like real life Jurassic Park, like totally could do that. That's wild.
Yeah.
I love that. I love I wish we could do more reality shows where we're actually like changing status quos, but you know, as you know from Bravo, people only want to watch already hot people who have everything be on shows. But it'd be fun to watch ones too where you like punish billionaires, where you like put a bunch of scammers on an island. I want to make Scam Island, but they all think they're there to like win money, but they all have to out scam each other. But at the end, nobody can get off until they scam each other. So it's like, just watch them all fall into their own pit of despair. That would be fun.
What if we did Punch a Billionaire, where you were allowed to just light up a billionaire?
I mean, see, like, I totally get punching up, but I'm all for the not punching up or down, more for like the circle jerk of comedy of like everyone comes, so then also everyone who's shitty is just out of the circle jerk. So I'm like, all the billionaires are on an island, and then we just party without them. They can't get off the island. They have no fun.
Yeah.
Or like Catfish Island. Now it's just me riffing. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Well, okay, I have to say this one because you're getting me too excited. Catfish Island, where everybody is a catfish, like just like a trolly catfish, but they all think they're the only troll. Like, so they get like a hot girl avatar, and they have to try to date each other on the island. But at the end, they're all catfishes. Mostly, I just want to watch people like own up for their mistakes. You know, like have consequences for their choices. That's Consequence Island.
All right, that's the name right there. I fucking love that.
Oh my God.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much for doing this show. This was such a fun story. You want to plug your plugs and things, so remind people where to find you, follow you and all that?
I would love to. So follow me on Instagram at _Brendan Fitzgibbons. Also, my podcast is called Spiritual Asshole. Check us out on Apple, all the stuff, and spiritualasshole.com. Hell yeah, this was so much fun.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to You Can Tell Me Anything. You Can Tell Me Anything is a comedic podcast created and produced by Teresa Lee on the Hoo Ha Ha Podcast Network. The Hoo Ha Ha team is Ashley McAtee, Audrey Povar, Maggie Wheat-Austin, Cardi Assad, and Stephanie Bignot. The theme song for this podcast was created by Cody Johnston. The outro music was written by Shipwrecked Sailor. And the Hoo Ha Ha app can be found in the Apple Store to stream your favorite comedy series and laugh out loud podcasts by the funniest women in comedy. To contact this podcast specifically, you can email tellmeanythingpod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram @tellmeanythingpod. Thank you.